If you've ever found yourself wondering whether you should lift heavy with low reps or light with high reps, you're not alone. This question permeates throughout the fitness community. Some people believe that you can only lift with heavy weights for low repetitions for the best results, while others swear by high rep training and chasing the pump. Well, let's look at the answer here, and it's a lot more complicated than you might think. But first we have to define what we mean by high reps and what we mean by low reps. For low reps, they're going to be 1 to 5 in the rep range, and they're going to be a lot more strength focused, using about 80 to 100% of your 1 rep max. Moderate reps, 6 to 12 repetitions in a set, the classic hypertrophy range, using 65% to about 80% of your 1 rep max. High reps, 12 to 20 plus reps in a set, more endurance based, and using around 50 to 65% of your 1 rep max. Now you've probably heard that 6 to 12 is the best for hypertrophy, but that's not really the full picture. Muscle growth can really boil down to 3 main factors, all of which really feed into each other: mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and just overall muscle damage. Low reps heavy weights really kind of lean into mechanical tension. High reps are a lot more about metabolic fatigue. This is really just that lactic acid burn. Moderate repetitions are basically just a balance of both. So this is why 6 to 12 has always been considered the hypertrophy rep range. But that doesn't mean by any means that low reps or high reps are useless for muscle growth. It's quite the contrary. The truth is that any rep range from 3 reps all the way up to 50 reps has been proven to be effective for building muscle. But when you pick a rep range, you should really select for a lot of factors, one of which is your goals. If your goals are more strength oriented, it's best to stick to the lower reps. The reason for this being is that your training is going to more clearly reflect what you want to achieve. If your goals are more endurance based, you're better off using higher reps for most of your sets. The reason for this being is it's going to have a much more kind of practical carryover to your sport. For instance, if you're running track, or if you're kind of partaking in any kind of combat sport, it's more likely that you're going to be asked for kind of higher repeating bouts of strength rather than kind of maximal all-out strength. Obviously, this will depend on what sport you're partaking in. If your goal is just growth for the sake of growth, then sticking to the moderate reps is probably best for you. The reason for this being is that higher reps probably are going to gas out your system. You know, your cardiovascular fatigue is going to catch up to you far before you actually muscularly fail. And if you use the kind of lower reps, heavier weights, you've got a higher risk of injury. So if all you want is to gain muscle, it's much better to just rock a balance between the two. Now here's the interesting thing. Studies have found that essentially all of these methods work. You can use any one you prefer and you'll get the exact same amount of muscle as long as your proximity to failure is the same. It's actually effort in your set that's the highest driving factor rather than kind of anything else that you're doing. Both low reps and high reps are effective, and you can use a combination of them both. Here's a way that a lot of people actually train to incorporate all of the rep ranges. So when they open up with their first kind of heavy compound exercise, be that something like squats, deadlifts or bench press, they're going to kind of really work within that kind of 1 to 5 rep range, really trying to lift as heavy as possible for that first kind of power focused exercise. They're then going to follow that up with kind of moderate rep ranges using kind of variations that feed back into the main lift. You know, for instance, after doing your squats, you might back off with some leg presses or some hack squats just to really reinforce that, but with a little bit of a more moderate rep zone, you know, working somewhere 6 to 12. Continuing the kind of analogy of a leg day, doing something like a leg extension, they may choose to then work within the high rep zone, kind of 12 to 20 plus. So what we see here is opening up with a big movement that hits a lot of muscle, like squats. You're then hitting that with maximum mechanical tension so that all the muscles can get a really big dose of that mechanical fatigue. After that, you're then moving on to a variation that maybe only kind of biases one or two muscles, and you work that more like a bodybuilder. After that, when you're in that kind of isolation zone, maybe you're only training one function of one muscle, you can absolutely flood it with that lactic acid, that metabolic fatigue, really feel the burn. And if combining all three of those things together, you're going to get the benefits of all styles of training. Instead of arguing what's better, high reps or lower reps, you can actually just really take some practical takeaways and implement the benefits of both depending on what you want to achieve. Here are the practical takeaways. For strength, you really want to focus on those kind of lower zones, just because it's much more specific to what you're chasing. For size, you're looking for a kind of moderate rep zone. However, you can use a mix based on your own preference. And finally, for endurance, you should really stick to those kind of higher repetition sets, just because they're a little bit more in line with what you're trying to achieve. But the biggest thing is actually focusing on effort. Your sets should be close to failure. That's the biggest thing. Training your absolute hardest. It doesn't matter what rep range you choose. You can choose multiple. As long as you're trying your best, you're going to get the best results for building muscle. So let me know down below, what is your favourite rep range? And did you find this helpful? And please do let me know, what do we think about this mic? I'm trying it out. I know I usually just use the microphone off the iPhone, but I'm trying to kind of minimise some of that echo and kind of up the production quality. But please be honest, let me know, did you love it? Did you hate it? And please do, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, click the bell notification and give me a little like so that we can keep these videos going.